We now go to chapter 33, R3 Alef verbs. In this week verb, it's just the opposite really of the one we've had before, the R3 gutturals. Whereas with the R3 gutturals, the Hebrew world went red. As we come to the R3 Alefs, the Hebrew world, especially in the perfect of all of the call and ifal and so forth, all the stems, the Hebrew world is going to go green this time. And so where we had commies before, I guess we'll have the green party this time. And so as we look at R3 Alef verbs, we want to talk about the weaknesses. And the problem is with your R3 guttural, or your R3 Alef, what happens is that the Alef is really in the silent schwa position, even though it's at the end of the word. Remember, there's an implied silent schwa there, and what's going to happen is that silent schwa is going to quiesce, and again, that's going to cause a problem. That's going to be one of the weaknesses, one of the sicknesses of this particular verb. And the next weakness, or the next sickness, is that the Alef prefers a sere instead of patach, which I've just mentioned as the reverse of the R3 guttural. So that's the two weaknesses, and now we need to look at how we're going to solve it. But before we do that, if you look at section 3 of the chapter, I have the strong areas. And as I say there, outside of the perfect, your R3 Alefs are pretty much strong, but you just have to remember that if you have a short patach, have a short vowel as your thematic vowel, that R3 Alef will quiesce, and so you'll just need to lengthen a short vowel to a long vowel. So if it's a patach, you'll lengthen it to kamet, something like that. So just keep that in mind, and so there's a lot of strong areas. But now we want to look at the remedy, how we're going to cure the sickness of this verb. And so the first thing I want to do is we're going to talk first about the quiescing of the Alef. And when the Alef quiesces, and you can see that in section 4, I have a verb. And first I'm going to write it as if it is a strong verb. This is what you would expect. But as you can see, the R3 Alef is in the silent schwa position. And when it quiesces, we're going to have some changes. And as you notice, as this quiesces, what's going to happen, of course, is you're going to have to get rid of this dagish lene, because now you've opened the syllable. It's no longer got a silent schwa in front of it. It's got a vowel in front of it. And now, because the Alef quiesces, the short vowel preceding it must be lengthened by compensation to a long vowel. And so you can see that when the Alef quiesces, we're going to have to lengthen the preceding short vowel. And one more example that I give you is the pual imperfect 3ms. And again, to dramatize this, what I do is I put the silent schwa, this pual form here, I put it in parentheses here, because you've got to remember there is a silent schwa implied here. And so when this letter is an Alef, so we switch this out, and now we go to a verb that has the Alef. Oh, again, we have the Alef here, and it had an implied silent schwa, but it quiesces. And when that quiesces, the short patach under the R2 letter has to lengthen to a long kamet. And so again, remember, this is going to be one of our solutions to the problem of the Alef quiescing, the lengthening by compensation for that. Okay, now we need to go to the problems that we have in the perfects, and that's where the Hebrew world clearly will go green. And again, we're just talking about perfects here. And though I put this chart up, what I want you to look at in particular is what's to the left of the slash, namely the perfect. Notice I divided up into two types of conjugations again. This time we're going to have what's called mixed conjugations and pure conjugations. What I mean by a mixed conjugation is that in the perfect you have not just patach, but you also have a sere. This is mixed. A pure conjugation is what you see in the pual. In the pual conjugation, it is all red. you see, in the perfect. And so our mixed conjugations will be our PL, our hifil, and then our hithpael. They're mixed because they're dominated by the patach, but yet they have also a little bit of seire or hirik yod. Our pure conjugations are going to be the pual, the hafal, and the nifal. Notice here in the nifal, again, it's just patach, no a little e or anything like that for a seire form or something like this. And so that's the way we're going to divide these up into mixed conjugations and to pure. Let's first talk about the mixed conjugations. And I list those for you as the call stative, where you have, of course, the AE, then again your PL, your hifil, and your hithpael. And so if you have a mixed conjugation, that conjugation will become pure, but that pure conjugation is going to be with seires. And so what I have written is, if you have a mixed conjugation like this, against the left of the slash, it is now going to become completely pure with seire. Now there is in the hifil a little adjustment that has to be made. As you know, the hifil looks like this, and now the hifil will become this. So it will still retain the hirik yod for the threes, but yet the seire is going to take over for all patach forms, okay? So again, your mixed conjugations become pure conjugations. And I list those there in the book, where again I have the call stative, I have strong column, and then I have an R3 Alef verb. And you can see that for your PL, your hithpael, but especially look at the hifil, that one in particular. Notice the E and the I as I'm mentioning it here. So notice that one. So again, your mixed conjugations become pure green, and that's what you need to watch for. Now, your mixed conjugations, namely, your pure conjugations, and again, by that we're talking about your pual, your hafal, and your nifal. Again, they're pure like this. They now are going to become mixed, and so they're going to now show some mixture. And again, this little a here is just going to stand for your 3ms form. So your 3ms is going to have a patach, which is going to lengthen by compensation to kametz because the aleph is going to quiesce. But everywhere else you're going to get the seires. And so again, we're going to go this time from a pure to a mixed. But the mixed will just be for the 3ms. All other forms will again have the seire. So again, if you look, I give you those examples, and you can clearly see how the mixture is going to be. With a nifal 3ms, you can see that the answer for your third aleph is patach, and then it lengthens to kametz because, again, the aleph quiesces. But when you get out of the 3ms and you go into something like your 1cs, you're going to get the seire, as I have there. So you must remember these problems here of going from mixed to pure and pure to mixed. So keep that in mind. Now some final considerations. Just like with the R2 and R3 gutturals, these R3 alephs will be patach and patach. Of course, they'll, well, let's put it this way. In the imperfect, they are going to be patach. It's going to be red. And so, and the imperfect and the imperative, obviously. So for all R3 Alef verbs, what you're going to look for is you're going to have this red here. So keep that in mind. And again, there's going to be a distinction between your call imperfect imperative and your call infinitive construct. Again, keep that in mind. But again, it's going to be red. It's something that can be predicted. When you go to the next thing I want to discuss, it is your second and third feminine plural forms of the imperfect and imperative. Here you get a segol. And the form looks as I'm drawing it here. Here you get the segol in this form. And again, this is for your second and third feminine plural for your imperfects. And this is all imperfects, not just call, but nifal, all of the imperfects. And also for your imperative, obviously, your imperative 2FP also. You get the segol. This segol is coming from another paradigm, really. It really goes to a form that has the R3 Yod Vav. But you get the segol, and this has to be memorized, and you have to watch for this. And then we have to look now at the T form. The T form participle, you would expect to be this form here. But again, what happens is very early on, the Alef quiesced. And so when they quiesced the Alef, what you would expect to be a segol here became a sere by compensation. And again, for a form like this, think of Elohim with the inseparable preposition, and you get lelohim. Again, you can sort of think of something like that where you get this, the sere here. So again, watch out for the T form. It's a little bit different. For all other forms outside of the perfects, it's really pretty regular. You don't have to worry too much about that, so keep that in mind. With that said, we now come to the forming and parsing of all our three Alef verbs. Again, it's going to be the same steps we've always done. We'll look at the boxes, the colors, and the call. The adjustments will come with the perfects. And so you can see that's why I choose a PL perfect 2MS to give you the difficulty. And so you can see the box. This is obviously not going to affect the boxes. And so the boxes stay as they are. PL is actually a PL in the perfect. But it's the colors is where we're going to have a problem. And for your PL, the PL looks like this. And notice we have a mixed conjugation. And so mixed becomes pure. Mixed becomes pure, all seres. And so this is the adjustment we have to make. We have to make it at the colors. And so obviously what we're going to have here is a sere is going to be our answer. So now I'm going to remove this. And let's see what our root is. Our root is male, like this. And so we put in the box. And now we know we're going to have a sere of some sort from the colors. And now we want a 2MS, and so we think of katalta. And so we think of this ta here. Now if you want to, I mean, we could still go to something like this and just go ahead and quiesce this, which means we've got to get rid of the dagashlene. But we can't lengthen that anymore. We can't lengthen that by compensation because it's already long. And so this is the form I would expect here. Mileta, like this. And of course the sere, and this is again, the Hebrew world goes green, and that's exactly what we have here in this particular situation. If you look at the chart in the back, of course it summarizes everything that we've done here, and you can see how in the perfect the Hebrew world does go green, but everywhere else is pretty much regular with just a little adjustment of quiescing and lengthening short vowels to long vowels for the quiescing of the Alef. So that is chapter 33, R3 Alef. And now it's time for you to look at the questions and do the drills.